Hello and welcome to our 15th webinar. My name is Tamara and I welcome you on behalf of InterVenture. We are a Swiss company that builds tailor-made day-star distributed teams in Belgrade for our partners. At the moment, we have over 40 open positions, so take a look at our career page if you're looking for a change. My guest today is Nemanja Micovic, research scientist at Nordeus, PhD student and a teaching assistant at Faculty of Mathematics in Belgrade. Nemanja will answer your questions and you can use both chat and Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. Recording of this webinar will be available on our YouTube channel tomorrow and you will get a link in your mailbox also. Nemanja, welcome again. Thank you for accepting our call and we are looking forward to see what have you prepared for us today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And it's so nice to be talking with people again in this sort of fashion with some talks, additional talks about topics that we like. And Python definitely is really close to my heart. I mean, yeah, there are other things in life that need to be close to your heart, like friends and similar, but Python among these IT things has really came close. So it's always nice to speak about Python as a programming language and some of the things we can do with it. So hello, everyone. My name is Nemanja, and today I will be talking about how we can develop Qt desktop applications, but by using Python programming language. Additionally, we will be covering why we want to do something like that. And I want to demonstrate you a small use case where you may need to do something like that as part of your job. And generally, it's always a good excuse to talk about Python. So yeah, introduction aside, let us start. So just give me a brief moment to rearrange the windows are all around my computer. Cool. Okay. So let us start. Tamara gave an introduction about me, so I'll just skip this slide. It kind of makes me, it's awkward to talk about yourself. No, thank you, Tamara, for a nice introduction. So, but yeah, Tamara mentioned Nordeus, and it is it's a really nice job at the moment that allows me to connect my loves in the sense of video games, AI, and football in general. So it's something that I spend a lot of time doing. And yeah, as for Nordeus, it's our own Serbian-based company founded over 11 years ago with almost 200 employees now from more than 20 countries. There are currently 3 games that are published. They're listed here. I guess the most famous one that most of you heard of is Top 11, and we are celebrating 11 years of Top 11 at the moment, being live, running, and really successful. So it's a nice accomplishment. So I'm part of the MLA team at Nordeus. And our main goal, of course, is to follow AI field and apply and research stuff required for our games and technology in general. And if you are interested in general in joining us, feel free to check around the stuff that I've linked. You also should maybe give our blog a look. There's some interesting things that we did and wrote about there. Okay. Now, on to the topic itself. So desktop applications and the worst slide ever. What are desktop applications? Well, I'm not going to be defining that, but I just want to kind of draw the line. What is a desktop app? So when we say a desktop app, we mostly mean the sort of classical programs on our computers that we use our keyboard and mouse to use. And we are kind of, that's the way it started, right? On personal computers, and you have a program for doing something. And along the way, web developed a lot. So some of our work has migrated naturally into web-based applications, which are really powerful today. But for example, Adobe Photoshop or Unity Engine, Unreal Engine, GIMP or Dolphin or Kden Live are some of the examples of desktop applications that everyone pretty much knows, not these programs, but you use them daily. Additionally, there is this sort of web-based desktop applications, which have this sort of web technology that is used to build a desktop-oriented application. So instead of using classical desktop technologies to do that, we can accomplish similar through web. And one of the most famous frameworks for that is Electron. So if you are a web developer, definitely give this a look, because it allows you to build really nice apps. And in general, the most famous one, I think, is like Visual Studio Code at the moment. There's also Atom, which originally was made. So the way it went was Atom was made by GitHub people, and then for them to make Atom, as they were really proficient with JavaScript, they developed Electron as sort of an internal technology for making Atom, and then they published Electron as a framework that allows you to build desktop apps. And along the way, things escalated, and Electron became very popular. And you probably used Slack a lot on your computer. It's being run by Electron in the background. So we will not be doing Electron today, but we will be doing Qt today. Qt is Qt. It's really nice. It's a C++ based framework that's has been there for quite a while, and initially it was in 1995 that was released. Currently it's version 6 that's being running, and it's been developing rapidly, and it's planned to be used from C++. So hence the topic for today is how do we use it from Python. And the cool thing with Qt, besides that being a serious framework with a lot of things it does really well, is that it allows you to build your stuff for many different platforms way, and your apps will look native to that platform, which is something that we want with desktop apps in general. And one of the most famous, I'd say, open source uses for Qt is KDE. So KDE is an open source organization that uses Qt for lots of their projects, like KDE Plasma, Console, Kate, Kdevelop, and similar. You can just see some of that here. All of this is kind of using Qt to be made. So this file browser, this full desktop experience that you see there, similar to this is a C++ integrated development environment being created in Qt. And this is the video editor, Kdenlive, also in Qt, and similar. So Python has a package called Pycute 5 and a couple of others that are here deprecated and not. And we will be using Pycute today. Okay, and final thing before we start coding is I wanted to mention Fman. So Fman, original Fman, is a file browser that was created as like an alternative file browser for the ones that you already have on your system. It's a cool software, really. And if I remember correctly, the author made it in Python and Qt together, so in a way that we will be working today. And for him to deploy the thing and send it to the users, he developed also an installer for his let's say packaging the way he made it, and this is the Fman installer. So you can find a tutorial here. Fman is a small sort of a package program that you can use to create installers for your apps. So give that a look. What we use today, you can use Fman to make an installer for that. I did it for a personal project and was really satisfied with the way it worked. And it made the app on Linux and created installer on Linux and stuff like that. And then I just sent the built version for Windows from my Linux, and it worked without problems with people who barely know how to install stuff. So a really nice experience from that. But anyway, talk is cheap, so show me the code. Well, show me the code. Let's make the code even better. We will be making two examples. First example will be us trying to make a sort of Slack rival. So today we will be becoming Slack competitors. In a way, we will be using a Slack channel I've made, so a Slack organization or whatever, to create a Slack bot and to send messages to the channels, but through our Qt small program. And the second example will be us trying to use Qt to create a sort of front-end controller for generating images via some model from machine learning. So you will see this will be the first thing that we're going to be making. I'm not sure we will manage to create everything from scratch, right, because of the time, but I've created the final codes and published them so we can find them later. Don't worry about the links. And like this is the first example that we will be making. And this is the second example. Of course, this cute dog is generated via machine learning methods. It's not not a real dog. Okay. All right. So the code is here, but you don't really need it at the moment. Maybe there are some bugs, so I'll give it later when I'm sure there are no bugs. Jokes aside, I don't think there are bugs there, but okay. So we are here. I already prepared our development environment just in order not to lose time, but I will briefly cover just what I did. So this is the repository, and if you're not familiar with Python, there are different ways you can work with packages. Here I've just created this small textual file which has the package names and the versions that I've used. So you can create something like virtual environment. You can do this. It will create a directory with the name venv, which you can see right here. And after you do that, you can just activate it via sourcing it right in the console. And once we do that, it's activated, which you can see here. And my packages are loaded because I installed them already, but you would just say pip3 install something like that. And as you can see, it's okay here, but in your case, it would install lots of stuff. Yeah. And do notice it uses Torch, which is a machine learning framework, so it may complicate your installation a bit, but if it shouldn't be that much of a problem. It should work out of the box, but just do take care there. Okay, the second thing is this Pycharm desktop environment that I'll be using. The reason for that is to show you these typing stuff. Pycharm has nice support for typing in Python, which will help us definitely to work. Finally, there are a couple of running configurations here that are running our project. It's nothing spectacular, just running the main script and positioning this configuration inside of the directory just to handle the different examples in the single project. So that's what I've changed there. And of course, when I run it now, it should give us our windows. So let's start with that. Okay, so what we can see here is this first example that we will be doing and our running script. So in order for us to do that, we kind of need to define our graphical user interface. And for that, there is this nifty, cool program that we can use called Qt Designer. So this is a Qt inspired graphical user interface for creating graphical user interface. And we can open, well, let me just find the right one. I think it's this one. Yeah, so this is our UI file that you saw. So here I can just design it the way I want by dragging things around because I kind of forgot how it needs to look. We can see that here. So let's try to make this inside of the designer. All right, so first thing that I need is this sort of a group box. I can drag it through here. Now, I will be spending a bit of time showing you how to make these user interfaces, not because it's difficult. The problem is that tutorials are not that easy to find, and it's difficult to create a textual tutorial for it because you're clicking. So I guess this will actually help you more than you expect. Okay, now we need to create this sort of a form here where we have a label and then this control, and then a label and then this control, and then a button. So we can drag a label here and another label and a line edit. These are like the controls that Qt offers to us that can do what we need. And then it's another label that we need here. I can double click to change the name. So by default, it's not connected. And I can expand it a bit. And finally, I need a button. I can find it, of course, here, or I can just search and I can say push button. So it's called a push button, not a button. And I can say connect. So this connect, it's actually us connecting to the Slack API that's being offered. I will not be talking about how to use Slack API for bots, but it's very simple for us. We have a Python package and just some key that we give, and it should work without problems. Okay, and now with this, I'd like to sort of arrange it in a layout. So I'll do that by clicking this part here that says layout in a form layout. So what is a form layout? It's for cases where you want to do something like this. So the name of the control, then the control, and then the name of the control, and then the control, and it aligns these labels properly so you don't lose your time doing that. So I'll just click this, and Qt Designer is smart, so it approximates the position where you put the stuff around and it fits them together. So now I have actually this small group here that I can use, and I can name it like connection or something like that. And I can say here token or something like an API token, and here status, for example. So that's one part. Now a similar thing, what we will do here is create this. So that's another group box. And of course, for the second example, I will spend much less time showing you how to create user interface. This is just the intro. Here we can say this is our message, and here we can say text. To be honest, I kind of forgot what I used there because just give me a moment. Here is the created one. Let me see. So it's classic text edit. Okay. So a text edit. And I just want to spread it around inside of my control. So in order to do that, I'll just click my group box. Of course, do notice one thing. So group box works smartly. When I drag my control around, Qt Designer knows to insert it inside. So that's why I can just do it faster. And now I select my group box. You can see the hierarchy here, that's how my components are positioned. So text edit is inside. And now I'll just click. Well, if you're familiar with any sort of user interfaces, you can lay out things horizontally, vertically, or in some sort of a grid. For us, it's whatever, because we only have one component. So I'll just click grid. So this is what we have there. And finally, as the same thing in a way, but a different control. So another group box for us here. And this thing is called list view. So this is a sort of a control that we give it a model with items, and it shows the state of this model that we use. Okay, and of course the grid thing for that also, and just call it here channels. Here, we want to load the Slack channels that exist. And now I select like the full window, and I want to arrange these group boxes around. So for example, I can click the grid, and the Qt Designer works really nicely. I really hate doing this, to be honest. My controls always don't fit where I want, and then I get annoyed because I'm not interested in making that, but actually the functionalities. So this actually works really nicely with that. If we want a menu, we can just click here, call it file, and then, for example, quit, and that's it. So now I'll save, and I will save it here as a UI file. So this is important for you to notice. This is very important. So it saves things as UI files, which are essentially XML state of what you created. And yeah, let's replace it. Okay, the second thing I want to do is actually these things that I've made in the UI will be objects that we access through Python. So for us to access them, they need to have names, right? And they do. So this amazing line edit is called line edit, which is of course a really bad name, but you know, we are programmers, it's our job to give bad names. So let's try to rename them into something more meaningful. For example, let's say let us call it line edit, and then say token, and then let's say for push button I'll prefix it with push button and say connect. And then for this this label I'll call it LBL, and then say status. For these things I'm not going to be changing them, so we don't care about them at the moment, but of course in the full package, in the full example, they're of course renamed. Here I'll call it text edit and just give it MSG, like message. And for the list view I'll call it list view, and then say channels, for example. Okay, let us save that. And well, let's stop with that and return to the console. So I'll go into our directory here and return to our Pycharm. So when I run it, as you can see, it doesn't work. So I've updated the UI file, but it's not being loaded, which is okay. This is planned, don't worry. So of course it doesn't work because the way we are loading UI files, as you can see here, there is this main window.py, and now as you can see this part, this is something that we are not writing. This is actually the code that we need to generate from our UI file, and for that we have a Python script to do that. So for us to do that, we'll do something like this. So PyUI compiler 5, and then we just invoke it with what we need. But I created this small script that does it for us. So what it does, that you just give it a UI file, and it dumps out the Python code of the compiled UI file, and you just save it as a Python file. So in this case, I have like a list of strings that has the names, and then it just does PyUI compile main window.ui, and it does it and it sends it into this file. Okay, so I'll do that at the moment, and of course we will explain the rest of the scripts later. And let us return here. Thank you for the comment. Yeah, we forgot to add the send button, so let's do that also here. So a push button, and let us add it. Well, let's add it here and say send, and give it a name pb send. Yeah, I can just use the shortcut for saving, but I'm clicking on purpose so because you don't see my shortcuts, so that's why I'm clicking around. Now of course compile again, and let's run it. And as you can see, this refreshes, right? So it's a proof that the script is working. So yeah, here it is. So we spent, I don't know, 7 minutes with me talking and clicking and explaining, just making this cool UI that you can use for your internal tooling, right? I'm not telling you how to create some complex UIs, but of course you can do it. But this is for your personal projects, really cool. For example, you have some Raspberry Pi that you were hacking to do some, I don't know, camera recording, and then you just want to have a small UI to follow what's happening. This is a really cool solution to integrate sort of a tool onto your Raspberry Pi, for example. Okay, so here it is. Of course, it doesn't work, but we can click around and just see the controls. And now let's edit functionality, and let us explain the code. So it's Qt is sort of object-oriented framework. So what we are doing is creating our class that inherits from Q main window. So this is our main window that we have. And I'm just launching my application in this way. So I'm creating my window that I've made and just calling exec, which starts the rendering of the window and does everything that needs to be done on my system. So the cool thing about Qt is that the code that you write that is Qt based then gets run in a different way compared to your platform. So when I actually make a push button that you just saw, it will be a different button on your Windows and Linux and Mac or whatever that you're using. That's a beautiful feature in a way, because it gives us native look and feel for everything we make. Okay, if we want that, right? Maybe we want to have a unique design like Select Us, and then maybe Qt is not the best option. All right, so let us expand on our code. Let's go with the following. So I want to show you how to react to button clicks. That's probably the most important thing for us. So let us create these functions that we want to call when somebody clicks our buttons. Let's go with, for example, when we want to quit from our app. So it's a method, a simple method that we make, and we can access our app. Give me just a small moment to check something. Yeah. So, okay, the autocomplete for some of the things will not work because it's Python, right? For some of the things it works, for most of the things it works, but for some not. That's why I got a bit confused. This is normal, additionally, because this is a wrapper on top of C++ big code. So yeah, don't expect full C# like or Java like perfect autocomplete for everything here. Okay, so this is the way we quit the window through Qt when we use Python. There are many other ways, but I guess this is the one I found to be the most useful one. Now, the second thing will be us handling the connect. So let's do something like this and just say handle connect. So this is that part, and of course we'll implement it later. Then additionally, let us handle the send button like that. And I think it's all that we need for the buttons. And here in the constructor, I will be creating, well, let's keep it tidy. So let's say something like this. Let's say set event handlers. So this is the function that will set up these handlers. And so it's a method, and we will just call it here. So set event handlers. So how do we do it? So now I want to access, for example, my push buttons that I have on the UI. And if you remember, we called them PB send and PB connect. So I'll just do self PB, and yeah, they're loaded. So it's really nice. So what this PyUI compiler does, it finds the name of the object in the XML and creates a Python variable that's named the same way, so you can just access it here. And of course, when you run the program, this Python variable will be connected via reference to the object that you need. So we access our button, and now what we want to do is access the signal and connect it to a function or later to a slot. So what are signals and slots in Qt? Signal is a sort of, well, a signal that you emit, and everyone who is listening to that signal will be notified that the signal was sent, and then they can be executed. That means all of you who care when I don't know, generate an image, I will emit a signal that I've generated an image, and all of you who gave me your slots will be called, and the slots are the functions. So whenever I emit a signal, all of the functions that are listening to that signal will be called. So what I want to do here is actually access the signal called clicked. So I access the signal, and then I use this connect function, and then I say what is the slot that I want to call when this signal gets emitted. So I can just say self handle and then say handle send, but do not call the function here, just forward it as a reference. And of course, if you want to connect other slots, you can just do it right like this. no problem. So you can connect one signal to many different slots. And this is the Qt based feature that you get by using Qt. And it's a really nice feature, especially when you're using it in C++. All right, so let's do that for our PB connect and do it to handle connect. And if you remember, we made this sort of quit button. So let's access that. Should be something like quit. So here it is, but it has two of those, which kind of is confusing to me. Let me just give it a look. Why is it two? So it's just the leftover names. Never mind. Let's not lose time. So I'll just use that quit two. The leftover is from the old code that I had and then deleted. All right, so it's a different signal here. It's called triggered. So we connect that into our self.handle quit. And that's it. So let us see if it works. So handle connect gets called, send gets called, and when I click quit, no app is found, which is interesting. Why did that work before? Okay, I like it when these things happen in a live demo. Just give me a brief moment to think. Did I get it somewhere? Huh. Never mind. Let's not lose time on that. I won the code for Slack, and it works in the original code. Maybe I forgot something, but I'm just checking the time here. All right, let's move on to Slack. So for Slack, we want to create this Slack controller, so another helper class for us. And for Slack controller, we need to create this variable, well, an object called web client that comes from the Slack SDK. So here I'll just import this web client and say that it's none. So then, of course, I'll try to create it via giving it a key that comes from Slack. So this should be like web client, and then we give a token here. So this token needs to be given to us by the user. And so when you do it, the next thing you need to test the API. So you can just create a variable here that will capture the result of API test. So it's a function that you just ping the Slack API and ask to get the information. And finally, let's see if that failed. So if it fails, we get a Slack API error, which we will capture. And let's say our status then will be response.data. So of course, I don't know this in my mind. You just test it out by like running the script, logging, or reading the API and see what you get and what is this object. I did it when I prepared, so I know the way I want to pack it. Okay, and what we need also to get a list of channels. If you remember, we need to list the channels. So let us list the channels like this. And you can send through this client this sort of a request to fetch it. And you can just say list the conversations, and and we can log to see what's happening. And inside of that object, we will get channels that we really need. So our channels will be what we get in this response, and we access our channels. And finally, we can like properly extract the channels to avoid working with JSONs and dictionaries in Python. So just iterate through our channels that we got, print it so you can see what I have, and do something here. So it will be another object that we make, and finally return our channels. Okay. So what is this channel? So it's just another object that I made to make things easier for us. We can give it just simple stuff in the constructor. For example, an ID, it will be a string. So it's important when we are sending requests to a channel, we need to know the ID of the channel, the name of the channel, and is it a channel? This is cool because we are getting conversations, not only channels. And this is like a representation of a conversation, not a channel. So let's keep that in mind and just send that to our object. So that's all for that. And maybe, you know, we can do something like this. And I am a bit lazy. So creates that so we can see it in the console properly. And naturally, of course, we want to add that to our listed channels and just say Slack conversation that we just made, and access in this dictionary that I have that I received from Slack. I can read these variables, and of course there are other variables, but just for the demo purposes, a fast demo purpose, I'll just use it like that. Cool. That's that part, and I shouldn't be returning channels but listed channels here. And to fully support Python typing, we should like type this function. This should be like a list of these Slack conversation objects. So we can say it's something like this. And here, because I have a reference that is none, and then it becomes a reference to an object, we can say this is an optional of web client. So it's something that can be nothing, right? Or it can have a value. And this optional is also supported in Python typing. I've probably heard about optionals or maybes or something like that. Comes mostly from functional programming. Cool. All right. And finally, well, our Slack can read channels, but we also want to send a message to a channel. So we wonder what is the message and what is the channel ID. So something like this, and we can try sending a message. So chat post message, that's the function that we need. And we can just say the channel is the channel ID that I have, and the text is the message that I have. We can print the result. And finally, same thing like we did on line 15. So if that, I can just say error posting message, and we can forward our exception here. Okay, I coded this really fast because it's, you know, less important for today. You can check out the code and later. Okay, let's return to our main and actually do the Qt related things that I want to briefly show. So I'm just checking the time, which is kind of leaking, but okay. We will do a fast look of the example number 2. All right, so next thing that we want to do is create something that will hide until we connect successfully to Slack. We want to hide the rest of the controls. So set message controls visibility, for example. It will be some bool variable that we send, and we can just access the full group boxes that I didn't name, which is bad, but it should be like this one. And we can call set enabled and just set the visibility, and it should be, I guess, number 3. If I'm right, yeah. And when we create our UI, we will just set it to false. So when we start our program, these are not accessible until we connect. Okay, and when we connect, then of course we will be working with the token. Now the token, well, I don't have it here. I have it in the original code. Let me just briefly find it. There we go. Let's go to main window UI, which doesn't want to open. Okay, never mind. We can do it like this. I will paste the token. This is not nice because you will see my token, but I don't really care because this is just some dumb Slack I've made, which I'll delete later. So we can set that, and we can hide this in the designer, like going here and setting it as a password type. It should be somewhere around. Wait, space, size, palette, font, focus. All right, I always fail when I need to click stuff. Just a moment. We can search. No, god damn it. Never mind, just a field. You change it to, or there's a suggestion here, echo mode. Yeah, let's use that. Where are you? There we go. Yeah, thank you. So here it is. Save, compile, and let's run it now. So it's hidden now. All right, and let's connect. So here is our connect. Now I'll just copy already the completed code and comment in order to not lose time on this. So we will read our token. We just access the line edit that you saw, read the text, get the token, create our controller here that we made a bit before. Check if all is okay. If it is, I want to show a small window that tells you all good. Or else if it fails, I just want to show you that things don't work. So let's run this first and see what happens. Account inactive. Okay, I love live demos. I have no idea why the account is inactive because it worked before. Come on, maybe I missed the token, but I did not. Oh, that's sad. Let me just check the completed example if it also doesn't work. Yeah, they disabled the account. Come on, that's really not nice. Well, that's unfortunate. Okay, that's really bad. Just give me a moment to check on the API side what they did. Just a moment. Maybe I just need to re-authenticate or something. Ah, God damn it.
Don't worry, Nemanja, we are still here and people are still here. Just, yeah, don't be in a rush.
Yeah, just a moment. I just need to find the setting, just a moment. We can maybe create a fast new bot. Well, never mind. Let's switch to another example. I don't want to lose time on this. I'll just comment on the code. It's nothing spectacular. So the Slack is the list of our focus for today. You can check it here. So when we connect the code that we wrote, simply will fill these things, right? These ones would appear. We can click them and it sends the messages. And to prove it to you that it worked before, I can show you Slack. So this is the bot that has been disabled. I have no idea why. But anyway, yeah, this was sent on these multiple channels through the app. So that was what I was supposed to show you, but yeah, it's not important anymore. So you saw like the error part works, and yeah, just when we get the text from here and click send, it sends the text through what we wrote. So this is almost like a complete code. Just that's it. Okay, let me see if I wanted to show you. Okay, another important thing that you need to see from Qt here is Qt Resources. So how, for example, I can get an icon for my app. I have an icon that I prepared here. So this image is something that I want to bundle inside of my app, for example, inside of the executable file. And that's useful because we don't have to worry about the file system on the deployment machine, and we don't have to worry about the paths for the images and where will our executable be with respect to the assets. So Qt offers you something that's called Qrc Qt Resources, and of course we can use it from Python also. It's an XML file that you just create with an extension Qrc, and this is how would it look for our icons. So to show you here, I have my directory called images with an icon with an extension JPEG. So what I do here is that I have this sort of syntax that Qt expects. And then here we have the path to the image. And the important part is this alias. So this alias is how will Qt know to connect my string inside of the code with the right image. So for that to work, we have another extension script called Resource RC compiler that we just can use to generate the Python file from the RC file that you saw. So compile script does that also for us. You can see it. You can see it here. Here it is. So PyRCC, and then we just give it resources RC and say that's the output, and then this is the input. So actually, because we did that in the compile script, we already have our Python file. And yeah, these are the bytes that it converted from the image, and it will be used to build the icon later. And right, this is the completed one. Here we can open our Pycharm, return to the live example. And here what I want to do is set this icon and that I made. How do I access the icon? Well, in general, I would set the icon through Qt by accessing the method called setWindow icon, and it expects an object of type Q icon. So this object, we can just access it through like this. And now here I need to add a string path to the icon that I want, but I don't want to read it from the local file system, but instead from this bundled executable that has the bytes inside. So the way you access it is that you do these 2 dots. So this tells Qt to search for the resources path, and then we can just say, find me something under the alias of icon. Of course, you can just build it with images like that or whatever you need. In our case, because it's simple, we don't need anything else. And this will probably not work, as you can see, because for it to work, we need to import. At least that's one way to do it. We need to import our resources that we just saw, and now it should appear. So here it is. And that's a really cool feature of Qt that you can use to bundle many different things inside of executable. Of course, do care, so it's not cool to send executables of 3 gigabytes to someone. Maybe then it makes sense to be more careful with that. Okay, all right, so that's that part. And finally, I just wanted to cover the missing piece of the code. This is the send. Nothing spectacular. So what we get here is, so what you saw from Qt was this class called item view. And for that to work, we need to make it, to give it a model. So this is what we, so Qt lets you create this standard item model. So it's a representation of things that are item based. So we create this model here, set it to this object in Qt. So it has a model, and now it's showing you the state of the model. And finally, we fill this via adding items the way we have them. So we are just adding item by item here. These are our channels, if you remember, but we are extracting the strings. So we are not adding full objects, but just getting out the names of the strings that are here. Okay, and last part is us now decoding back. So this is what the user selected. So when the user selected the channel, we get this index from Qt, get the proper number, because this index has additional info. We index in our list of channels and simply call the function that you saw from before. So nothing special there. Okay, the second example is similar and more complex. Sadly, I will not be able to cover it in detail. I kind of expected us to manage to cover up everything, but never mind, still wanted to show you. So this is the completed code. And of course, it's a dog. But what we can do is actually give a number here. So for example, 100, and click generate. And it sends this to this StyleGAN model. So StyleGAN is a model from NVIDIA that allows you to generate images of whatever you want. Of course, you need to prepare the data and train the model and similar. So I used a pre-trained model from NVIDIA here that can generate docs. And I'm just showing you the generated images here. So I can just generate some random doc. So it randomizes the seed and sends you, shows you the images. All of these are like generated in real time now. And yeah, we can play around with it. Of course, you can save the images anywhere you want. What I wanted to show is signals and slots. How is this working? So it's just a small example of how we can use a thread from Qt. Let's go here. So this is our main window. It's nothing different compared to what you saw. The only exception is the way we show the image. This is a bit different in Qt because they don't really have this classical widget for an image. Instead, you use a label, which is a bit strange, but not that strange. So this here is a Q label, but they have this property for Q label called pixmap. So it's essentially the bytes for the image, where I've just set up this dog face. And this dog is loaded from the RC file, and I've just chosen it there. So this is a different way to load the RC file into your Python Qt based project. This will be connected inside of the UI file when you do it through Designer. So then you don't have to do the import of the RC like I did in the previous example. The rest of the stuff is easy. So these are just the buttons and what we did from before. It's the same stuff. Okay. The icon is again the same stuff now. What's new? We have this slot here. So this is a function, but what we want to do is actually we run our model on a different thread on the computer, and we want this model to be loaded once because it's very computationally intensive, and we want it to stay loaded and then to receive requests requests to generate the image, and then to generate the image and to return the image. So we will be communicating through slots and signals with this thread that we have. All right, so what we do here is just let's imagine that we implemented this, or we did. We start the thread. So when we create the window, we also start the thread. And what we do here is connect signal when our user on our GUI application clicks generate for a seed, we just send this let's say let me show it here. So you can see a signal here, right? So let's start from that, and then it's easy to explain the next thing. So this is the way I create signals here. So our signal is something that we want to emit, and if we want this signal with additional data, we can add it here. So I will be emitting a signal that says, please generate an image for this int variable that I have. So that's why it has an int there. And then I say, okay, when this signal gets emitted, please forward it to this thread object. This object is our thread, right? And then this is the slot that we have inside of the thread, which I'll show you a bit later. Similar, when the thread and the signal inside of the thread gets invoked, then we call this signal here, and here it is. Sorry, this slot here. So this signal, when it gets emitted, this slot gets called. When this signal gets emitted, this slot gets called. So it's just a way to connect these things between each other. So when we emit generate for seed, thread will receive that, and when it responds back with a pixmap. So this pixmap is a Qt-based, of course, image, and we get the generated image, and it's really easy. We just set it, just as use the setter method and set it inside of our label that I've shown you from before. This is nothing new, so we saw it in the previous example. This generate random button does the same thing as this button, except it picks the seed on random instead of reading it from the UI. So here it's on random, here it's from UI, and then these lines are the same. So how do we emit a signal? This is important. So there is a function that you can use called emit, and inside you just send what you need. So here I already have it as an int, so no need to convert it to int. Here I need to convert it because it's a text, or actually a Q string, or probably in Python it's a string. And of course, we should check this if it's not a word or something, so it doesn't crash, but yeah, never mind. So as you can see, it's a small code, right? Nothing spectacular needed there. On the other hand, this is our thread. So this is a Qt thread that we use. And this is the signal. So if you look back, right, it's the same stuff. So a Pycute signal with this data that you send. And here it's a signal that has this data that you send. So that's the way to create signals. And this is the slot. So here we had a slot that has this pix map that it receives, and here it is. Here we have a slot that receives an int, and that's it, right? So just small functions that we have. Init model, do not look this. This is the integration with the PyTorch code from StyleGAN, nothing to do with us today, just creates the model, sends it to GPU on my laptop and similar, it's not that important. The generation of the image, this code, you shouldn't really care about it. Again, it's the part with StyleGAN, and what we get a pillow image, and then we convert it to a pix map and just send it. But please do note, I'm not doing a return pix here. Instead, I'm just using my signal to emit it. So anyone in this project who is listening to this signal will receive this pix map that we have, not only of course the callers of the function, but instead the people who subscribe to my signal. Okay. And this is the function that you implement for the thread. So this is being run on, well, in theory, on a different thread. Now it depends how Python and Pycute handle Python's threading. That's a topic for itself. But anyway, what we do is when we run the thread, we initialize the model, and then we run around in the loop. If we need to generate an image, we generate an image, and then we say, okay, we generated an image. And this flag gets set from when we receive a request. So when our main window sends us a request, we set the seed that we got and then say, okay, let's set the flag to true. I wanted to show you also that you can use Mutex here. So yeah, we can create a Mutex. It's again from Qt. And so yeah, we have a Mutex, and when we are changing this variable just for demonstration purposes, we can lock it and unlock it. But yeah, I think it's not really needed here, but just for demo purpose. Finally, the thread ID, we can get it via this static function here. And this is how it looks. So we can also follow which thread it's working. Okay. So this is that part. Let me check the time. Not bad. Yeah, sorry for the first example, that really wasn't planned to have my account deactivated. But yeah, never mind. Okay, so there is just another detail that I want to do. And just give me a moment. So here we are, and let's click the end. Okay, there we go. So thanks for your time, and let's hear the questions.
Such a cute dog. Do you want to read the questions yourself, or shall I read it for you?
It's okay, I can read them. Let me just find them because of these Zoom spread around windows. Here we go, cool. Right, I'll go first through these questions directly because there's some stuff on chattels. Okay, do you have any tips for, well, we can actually set it here. Do you have any tips for combining UIs created with Qt Designer and UIs created through code? So use case, sometimes you need to override a Qt provided class to achieve certain results, like activating a button with the enter key, which you can't achieve through the Qt Designer. Yeah, so because it's, this is not a workshop, but like a talk, I had to really cut the scope a lot to what I'm showing and saying. So dynamic Qt UIs are something, of course, that you need to check out by yourself. It's not that difficult. So we need them sometimes, right? Because we cannot know in advance what we have. For example, if you're making a data labeling application, you don't know the number of classes ahead of time, and then you need to generate the exact amount of buttons. In my case, so I was working on this similar app that had to combine this. And it worked out okay. Nothing like I cannot tell you that I had any problems with these combinations. So what I did was create a new class, extend from Qt what I needed, and then inside of that build dynamically what I wanted. And then in the designer, what you can do is the following. So you get this widget, which is some widget. And then there is this promote to thing that you can click. And through this wizard, you can find the class that you made. And then when you promote it to that object, and in the UI file, it will be written as such. Or of course, you can do it in the XML yourself. Probably if you're new, it's strange, but if you're doing Qt for a while, then you know the XML and it's easier than the designer. So maybe that's the way I would go if I understood the questions properly. Okay. Second question, have you tried to compile Pycute application with Nuetka and was it successful? No, I did not. I didn't use it. So when I was making this app some time ago, I was searching for installers, and it was Fman that came up first. And when I look at the documentation and the motivation for the project, it was really nice. And because I wanted to finish as soon as possible and it worked, that was it for me. So yeah, if anybody has experience with Nuetka, please write on chat. So I also wonder about it. Is Pycute threading just a wrapper for C++ threading, or it uses Python coroutines? To be honest, I have no idea. Why? Because this second example was created really recently, and it was obviously additional compared to what I originally wanted to show you. So I didn't have time to check. So yeah, we need to see that. I think it probably also depends on the system and the internal Python that's inside of the system and stuff like that. So I'd really have to check that. Sorry. Cool. And on the chat, let's see, we are good. Live demos are always difficult. Gotta sacrifice something to the demo gods. Yeah, when something doesn't break on the live demos, I kind of am like always scared. That means something is really bad. So it's sort of, I guess lots of you had these situations when you test everything and in 1 hour when the presentation or demo comes, something breaks in a very strange way. So it's sort of a tradition, I guess, in the programming world. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Nemanja, for being our guest tonight, and thank you for sharing your knowledge and your live demo. And don't worry, live demos are really always difficult. I mean, you just can't predict all the things that can happen. And I guess the people actually understood your point, so don't worry. Thank you everyone for joining us and for being here with us tonight. Our next webinar will be on leadership, and it will be on 13th of May with Jovan Vidic, who is working in Amazon as a senior solution architect. So you're welcome to join. Thank you again, all of you, for coming, and I wish you all nice and lovely holidays, and we will see you next time.
Thanks a lot. All the best and enjoy the holidays. Bye-bye.
Hvala, Nemanja. Ciao.